Good morning, Vivi.
Hi, Alex. Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thank you. And you?
I'm good. There we go. Lighting came on. How was your weekend?
Good. Yeah, my kids play a lot of basketball, so a lot of
Oh,
basketball games.
okay.
And yours?
It was good. I was glad it was a little bit warmer. I was able to put the plants outside. They've been living inside the last couple months, so that was nice. They'll have to come back in tonight. But yeah, I mean, obviously lots of rain, but yesterday, nice getting out and yeah, I mean, it's January, so not a lot going on. So just low key, go to church,
Oh,
watch some football. But yeah, it was nice.
oh yeah. I like these months. Are more restful, being at home. Yeah.
Yeah, so I leave Friday. I have to go to Charlotte to meet with some companies, and then I'm to head to Las Vegas for a conference on supply chain. So I'll be there next week, and then of course we have EI Squared the week after. So February is just
Oh,
already filling up with a lot of travel. But January, I've been here all month, which has been really nice. Just catching up on everything that I didn't do last year. Don't tell anyone.
yeah.
So it's been good, but just meeting with a lot of companies and yeah, it's gone well.
Yeah. Yeah, for us too. We're going next week to Medellin for the opening of cohort 2 for Createx. So then we have the meeting in Savannah. So the February will fly for us.
Well, safe travels back. I love that city, so that's great that you're getting to go and kicking it off.
Yeah.
For the class today, what and I was about to just pull up Brandy's notes. What in particular would you like me to focus on? And obviously throw it open to questions and all of that, but uh
Yeah, I would say if you can go a little bit over intellectual property for startups. This is a topic that we have identified that's a need. They will need a lot of guidance in that regard. Um, you can tell about your journey, about the experience in at ATDC with the startups in this topic. Also, I think you all also focus a lot on when we were in Medellin about the value proposition, all of the key aspects that startups will need to consider when for scaling.
yep. Okay. All right, yeah, no, that all sounds good. Uh Obviously I'll focus on the sales side of life as well.
Yes.
Uh but I see Catalina's on the call. Good morning.
Good morning, Catalina.
Morning, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Great. How was your weekend?
Good. I just rest at home because I am a little sick.
Oh, well, I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
And as we did in Medellin, just if there's anything that you want me to focus on, just hit me with the question and I'll take that as a hint to steer in that direction.
Sure. Yeah. I think also you can cover the industry trends and any advice based on all your experience that you have for startups. Hi, Brandy. Good morning, Ward.
Right.
Good morning.
Sadly, you're on mute, Brandy.
Good morning, Alex, Ward, Catalina, Vivi. Good morning, Vivi.
Good morning.
So here y'all are going back, the dynamic duo to Medellin.
Vivi and Nakia are going next week.
Oh, no chaperone this time?
Nope. Vivi has to be the grown-up this time.
Vivi, remember whole bean coffee, whole bean coffee. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, holding coffee and a lot because I'm running out.
Or there's just stories about these women that I don't even know. Like
I
just
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
It's an HR violation just being on this call. That's all I'm
It
gonna
is
say.
not, you silly man. I was talking with my husband. I remember working in corporate, and big sale would close and everyone would go to the bar and people would stumble home. And what our group did, not with Alex, but with when we completed Create X, is we went to a really nice coffee house.
Nice.
Much more wholesome than I remember from corporate. And corporate may have changed by now. I don't really know.
I will say, I mean, Colombia has incredible coffee, so not a reckless decision, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Any coffee, I have bought any brand, and all of them are local, but excellent quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandy, how was your weekend?
Fabulous. My husband and I are planning a trip to Germany. We got tickets, we got train tickets, we got hotels. We're set.
Awesome. The
How about
motherland.
you, Alex? You're still in January, still got the no shave January going, I see.
3 days, the stupid whole 30.
I'm doing no shave January as well.
It looks great, Ward, by the way. I meant to comment. Hopefully they don't get us confused on the call.
Yes.
It is like,
Whole 30, 3 more days.
yeah, figure just might as well do the whole stupid month.
Yeah.
But I get a haircut and get to clean up my beard on Wednesday. So that's that.
Excellent. That's a great way to finish out whole 30. You poor thing.
And
It's
how
not
do
that, I
you
mean, honestly, it's not that bad. It just really, it's just annoying at some point, right? It's like, oh, I could eat. Nah, never mind. It's not even, why get involved with it? Just move
Yeah.
on. I will say the RX bars at Trader Joe's, the blueberry flavored ones, those are Whole 30 compliant. That's been my salvation.
Good.
It's like
Good
your
to know.
sweet treat. So
Good to know.
all this critical information to startup success.
But what is the most difficult food that you cannot eat? For me,
So
was
it-
cheese.
Yeah, for me, I think I miss my milk. So typically I drink a glass of milk every morning after I work out. So that's been the biggest thing. Also, I'm a gum chewer and gums out because it's got artificial sweetener. So for all this crazy, some of it is dispersed through chewing gum. This is going to be 31 days of no chewing gum. So
You save some money.
I'm making it rain nickels. Just
Okay. Other people have told me that the cutting out bread was hard, cutting out cheese. For a few of my friends, cutting out alcohol was really hard. I think that's a good activity, though, for any human.
Yeah, you clean your body. But for me, cheese, I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot live without cheese. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter?
I
I
love
will
peanut
say
butter.
almond butter, which I never had before, not the worst, won't actively engage with it outside of Whole 30, but when you want that kind of consistency of peanut butter and everything, not terrible. Good morning, Alina. Happy New Year.
Hey, Alina.
Oh, I can't hear you, Alina. Oh,
Excuse me.
oh, there you
Yeah.
are. There you are. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
Morning.
Is it early, Alina? Or are you up
No,
always at this time?
we're in the same hour. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you get up early anyhow, right?
Yeah. All Colombians.
No, not really. I like to sleep. No, I like to sleep. I prefer to wake up like at 9 o'clock, but
Oh, okay.
it's okay. No.
Okay. Sergio is here.
Hey, how are you?
And I
Hi,
see
Hello,
Edwin.
Sergio.
Oh, Roberto. Roberto is actually not a Colombian. I invited Roberto. He is from our work in Puerto Rico, and I just asked him to join because Because I like him.
Thank you, Brandy. Good morning. That's
Good
fun.
morning.
I'm happy to be here.
And Roberto is actually in a different time zone.
I am. I'm located in Puerto Rico.
What time is it in Puerto Rico right now?
Right now it's 9 a.m. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not much big difference.
No. It's 8 o'clock, Vivi. Can we get started?
Can we wait 2 more minutes? I think they are
Yeah.
joining, and then we
Yeah.
can kick it off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my camera on.
Oh, there's Roberto. Roberto, do you actually need glasses, or are they just, an accessory?
It's 50-50. I need it. I need glasses for one eye, and it's more like helping the other that's doing all the work.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
I thought about getting LASIK and eye surgery and everything, but wearing glasses is part of who I am. I don't know how I can live without glasses.
Yeah, I've been using glasses since I'm 8. I was 8, and it has become part of my personality too.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandy, do you think we can start now?
I think so. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We're so happy to be starting this webinar series, and we have 2 guests from Georgia Tech with us. We'll introduce them in just a moment. I'm Brandy Nagel, and I support Vivi Montenegro on this amazing work that we get to do together with the people of Medellin. Vivi, will you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Brandy. I'm Vivi Montenegro, program manager for the Medellin Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center. Georgia Tech is opening in Medellin. So we have been working in many programs this past year. So now we will also start with this webinar for sharing our experience, Georgia Tech speakers, and also engaging the startup community in Medellin.
This morning we'll have Alex Rhodeen as our guest, and then on Wednesday we have Ward Broom. And the idea is to continue some of the conversations that we started last year under different programs through Create X and through 100 Steps, and also to spark new conversations for the new year. If you have not heard Alex Rhodeen, he was one of our primary speakers during the 100 Steps program. He has real-world experience with startups, but also as a leader. And so I've asked him to come and talk today about leadership within your startup. I think I asked him to talk about the importance of starting the new year strong. And if you see that you're starting to move away by the end of January, how do you get back on track? So Alex, will you please introduce yourself, and then I'll ask a few questions to get us started.
Awesome. Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. It is great to see your names on black backgrounds. For those of you who had the chance to be a part of 100 Steps Medellin last year, it's great to have you back. For all those who are new, welcome. Buckle up for safety. Might want to take a seat. Want to use the time that we have here to get through as many of your questions as possible. My background as a founder and person who's been in startups for longer than Ward's been alive. I just want to take what's relevant to you as a founder, someone considering starting something, someone who has started and maybe you've hit a wall and you're trying to figure out whether to turn left or right. No bad questions except the ones you don't ask. So quickly about me, I am from the United States. I grew up in the Northeast near New York in a state called Connecticut. I went to school in Wisconsin, which is in the Midwest United States, and I moved to Atlanta 10 years ago. I love Atlanta. I co-founded a company when I arrived called Kanga. It was last mile on-demand delivery. And I'm completely forgetting the name of the on-demand delivery company in Medellin that I
Reppy,
referenced so many times.
Reppy.
Yes, thank you. That's why Brandy's in charge. But very similar model of you're at home, there's something you would like, you use an app to order it, and a driver brings it to you. That company was acquired after about 2 years by Geodis. Some of you may know that name. It's a global supply chain company headquartered in France, but with operations around the globe. It competes with DHL, FedEx, UPS. And after 3.5 years with Geodis, I left and started another supply chain company. This is a more traditional third-party logistics fulfillment company working primarily with companies that sell online. So we hold their products as customers order them, we ship them out to those customers. I served in the United States Army for a total of 9 years. When I left active duty, I returned back home, and that began my startup journey. I wound up as employee one at a startup and have stayed in early stage startups ever since. My area of expertise within startups is supply chain, but candidly, at the earliest stages, whatever your solution might be, the things you have to do in order to be successful are all the same. So you may have a supply chain solution, you may have a fintech solution, you may just be a person who's got an idea for a business you want to run out of your home. It may not involve a lot of technology. That's great too. The things that you'll need to do include customer discovery, which is understanding I've got an idea for a product or a solution that I think people would pay me for. I want to find out if that's actually true. So customer discovery is the process of talking to people you don't know, ideally, and getting their feedback. And if you only talk to family and friends, people who know you, people who like you, they're likely to say supportive things, which you would want, except that doesn't really help you to understand what the best marketplace is for your solution. If you want to sell lemonade, that's a great idea. And if it's a very hot day and you have a good location, you'll likely sell a lot of lemonade. But what happens when it rains? And what happens when it's not so hot? Or what happens when your great location is no longer a great location because people don't want to go there because they were only there for an event and they don't usually spend their days there? Learning all these things about how your solution will be helpful to people who want to pay you for it is really key to customer discovery. You'll also want to understand what culture do I want to create within my company? What are the things we believe in that will help us make difficult decisions when we have to? Your solution is very important. You need to have a smart solution. You need to have a market for that solution. But at the end of the day, if the company itself isn't clear on what it's trying to achieve and you don't create a culture where the people on your team understand what they're working for and what values matter to you, it falls apart. It's often said that every single day, culture at a company is much more important than the product of a company. And I agree with that. And the good news about culture is that's something that you can establish without a lot of money, right? You don't need to pay someone a ton of money to think about what you want your business to reflect, what you want people to believe about your business. And of course, as Brandy mentioned, there's leadership. And there will be many times when you're challenged in your journey, and how you respond to those challenges, the ways in which you make decisions are going to be critical to the success of your company. And I'll be honest, you will make the wrong decision. It happens. We do it all the time. And that's fine. One, the most important thing is you do have to make a decision. I have been part of organizations where leadership would not make a decision. And that is the worst decision of all, is no decision. It wastes time, it wastes money, and it will kill your business. So make a decision. Don't be afraid of being wrong. If you do learn that there was the wrong decision, learn the lesson from it, and please don't repeat it. But choosing, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, is so much more important than I'm not going to do anything. Because whatever you're trying to decide on, it will remain whether you choose to do something or not. So take action. Always default to action.
Alex.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Alex, I have a bunch of questions.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what you do at ATDC.
Within ATDC, my role is to serve as catalyst. My colleague Ward, who's on the call, his area of focus is robotics. I focus on supply chain, and we work with early stage founders to coach them through all of the opportunities that they're going to encounter as they launch their company. We can serve many capacities. It can be that we are here as coaches, talking them through challenges that come up along the way. We're here to connect them. Maybe they're looking for another founder who's dealt with a similar problem. Maybe they're looking for investors. Maybe they're looking for customers. We try our best to connect them, and we create community. So we want them to have a place where they can go to have these conversations with people who are also launching businesses, so they can share their experiences with one another and all benefit from it. So that's my role at ATDC.
And ATDC is, fill in the blank for me.
ATDC stands for Advanced Technology Development Center. It is the state of Georgia's technology incubator. So we are here to support founders in the earliest stages to grow their companies, which will help the economy across the state of Georgia grow as well. It started in 1980, so we've been around now this is our 44th year. So we've been doing it a while, and my company, Kanga, the delivery company, we were part of ATDC for a little over 2 years. So I know the experience of ATDC as a founder or co-founder, and now I'm back serving as a catalyst.
And so you've talked with founders throughout the month of January, and the founders that you think of in Georgia, what are they struggling with? Is it the same as what founders struggle with in Medellin?
Based on conversations with founders as part of 100 Steps in November, and in my experience with founders here in Georgia and all around the United States and candidly the world, the challenges are all the same. Everyone is trying to figure out the process of customer discovery. Some founders are serious about it and do the work, and it makes a better product. They are trying to figure out product market fit. Okay, I've established that people will pay me. How do I go out and identify which people are actually going to give me money? They are trying to understand how to land customers, how to sell, because often these solutions, no one sold them before. So they have to figure out the best way to sell their solution. As Brandy would note, you're not selling to an organization or a thing. You're selling ultimately to a person. So you need to know within an organization, who is that person? It may be the person who's in charge of buying new technology. It may just be the person who's in charge of buying everything, whether it's a sheet of paper or technology or anything else. It might be the person in charge of the company. It could be the CEO, and they make all the decisions about buying a solution like yours. So you need to understand, I'm not selling just to the government or a business, but who is that person that's going to be the person to say yes at that business that I need to be having the conversation with. You can have a conversation with someone at a company that makes sense as a customer, but if they're not in a position to say yes, they're not in a position to write you the check to buy your product, then you need to keep the dialogue going to talk to someone who is in that position. And our good friend Kirk Barnes, who won't be able to join us, he will talk endlessly about that matrix, about who you need to talk to and the roles people play. Some people can be your advocates. They can be your cheerleaders inside of a company. They won't be the person to say yes, but they are the person who can say, I love this founder. I love this idea. Here's how it will help us. Others will be the decision maker. So hopefully there'll be a point we can get Kirk on and he can take you through all his wisdom around selling and networking and marketing.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this, Alex, but Kirk is in the process of launching an online course And he has 11 founders from Medellin who are going through the pilot program right now.
I was there when he promised them that he
Yes.
would get them involved. And I said, if they hadn't heard from him by the end of January, start blowing them up.
Yep. Yep. He announced it and he has 11 people from Medellin participating. I'm really happy about that.
That's awesome.
Okay. So Alex, beginning of the year,
Yes.
and lots of people set personal New Year's resolutions, or they set intentions for the year. Lots of startups start the year with lots of energy, and by the end of January, they're struggling because it's real. If it were easy, everyone could do it, right?
Amen.
So what advice do you have for the founders, the startup leaders, the entrepreneurs who on the 29th of January are feeling discouraged or they're struggling?
So 3 things to keep in mind. Number 1, every day is a new day and a new year. It's easy for us to focus on January 1st and the start of the new calendar year. That makes sense. We have the holidays and then it's a chance and everyone's talking about resolutions. So a lot of us just say, hey, I'm going to wait till January 1st and then I'm going to make all these important changes in my life. But then we find ourselves on January 29th and some of those things we said we were going to do haven't worked out. Doesn't matter. It's January 29th. New Year starts today. 365 days starts every day. So don't wait around to start something that's important for your business, your personal life, something that you need to do. And if you started and stumbled, that happens to most humans. That's fine. Get up, keep going. I was saying startups that the greatest determinant of your success is probably luck, but the X factor is always hustle. And no one will ever care more about your business than you do. And if you don't, stop, go away. All right. So New Year starts today. Awesome. Second thing, you've dealt with challenges. You're not where you thought you'd be on January 29th based on what you said you would do on January 1st. You have to ask yourself why. One of the hardest things to do as a founder is to have an honest discussion with yourself. You can literally do it into the mirror, but you have to be able to ask yourself, I said that I would land 2 new customers by the end of January, and I have 0 new customers. Why is that? What is going on? Did I do 20 cold calls a day? Did I do the networking and go to the events where my customers are likely to be? What are the things that did not happen that have prevented me from landing these 2 new customers? If you can't have an honest discussion with yourself, or if you're part of a larger team, if you've got other people that are part of your startup, if you can't have an honest dialogue with them and hear their feedback, then your organization will not succeed. I talk to a lot of founders who know everything. It's wonderful to know everything. It's so great to be that smart. I'm not that smart. I'm an idiot. But I do know that because I'm not smart, I need people to give me feedback. And that means I learn to put one foot in front of the other, left, right, left. If you go right, 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 you just go in a circle and that's a mess. So you need to be able to have that honest feedback, both with yourself and the team, and to hear it as well. All right. So first thing, New Year starts today. Second thing, why? What happened? Be honest about the reasons why it didn't happen, and then make those changes. Okay. Third, muy importante, underline, 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 underline. All right. What is it about your solution that is going to matter? Why is it, what pain is it that you are solving? A lot of people start because they find something. I'll give you a great example. If any of you have seen the show Shark Tank, a very young person, meaning young as an entrepreneur, first time starting a company, they came on and they had the greatest idea in the history of the world. They had just flown into an airport a few months prior and had never been at that airport, and they didn't know where to find a sandwich for lunch. And so they were going to make a solution that would show people when they land at an airport that they don't know where to go get a sandwich. This application would tell them how to do it. This person had a couple dozen downloads. No one was paying for the solution. This person got laughed off stage by the sharks. I almost felt bad, except he was obnoxious. But he believed he was absolutely right. The world was wrong, and the world would eventually figure out how wrong they were. He raised zero money. I checked before I got on this call. The company no longer exists. So he took a thing that was a problem to him that wasn't that difficult. There are maps in airports. Ask someone. Go on the internet. There are so many resources to solve the problem of not knowing where to find a sandwich in a place you've never been. But he thought this was something the world wanted, and they didn't. So you have to ask yourself, what pain are you solving? Are you really making a difference in someone's life? Or is it just a nice to have because you want it, so you think other people want it? Which brings you back to customer discovery. So if you get to that third point and don't know, you probably need to go back to customer discovery, because that will also explain probably why you need to start again because you're not succeeding the way you thought, and why you haven't been successful, need to have the difficult discussions. And I saw a hand go up.
So Alex,
Yes.
what's the advice that you wish every startup, every founder would believe? The thing that you say that you wish that they would just believe and take to heart.
I mean, let me see if I can get this right in the Spanish. But si no tienes clientes que pagan, no tienes negocio. If you don't have paying customers, you don't have a business. You can tell me over and over again that you are in business, have a startup, building something. If no one is paying you for your product, you do not have a business. You have a hobby. Okay? Nothing wrong with a hobby. Hobbies are great.
I just want to ask the room, how was Alex's English? Because I'm sorry, how is Alex's Spanish?
English is a mess. Spanish is spot on.
Spanish, it sounded a little rusty to me, and I don't even speak Spanish.
Yeah, but it was what I understood.
You did it great.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you say, Vivi?
Yeah, it was good. Now he got it. So I have a question for Alex. So go regarding the IP topic. So I would like to ask you why IP is so important for startup, and how can startup protect their invention? What is your advice based on your experience at ATDC, and also on your personal experience?
I'm going to actually, if Ward, you're up for it, I'm going to tap in Ward. So the solutions that I've come up with, we have not had IP. They've been, I mean, we've built our own technology. Let me be clear. It was proprietary technology, but there was nothing about it that hadn't been done. It was just our variation on it. I have worked at a company, Lovesac, a furniture company. Our great differentiator was we had a patent on our furniture, which we defended successfully in court every time. So I would say at a high level, the piece around intellectual property is you can, and I'm speaking from my experience in the United States. I don't know the laws around patents in Colombia, but in the United States, you can go get a patent and it will bring protections, but you are also telling the world exactly how you're solving a problem. And your protection only comes in your willingness to pay attorneys to defend your patent. So if a major company sees how you've solved it by reading your patent, again, it becomes public information, they can just copy it. And then if I want to try and fight a big company, I need to have the money and the lawyers to go do that. And that's what a lot of large companies bank on. I'm not saying don't patent your idea, but it does bring exposure. And there's other ways. There's also trade secrets, which is a term we use in startups that I hate, but secret sauce. How do you differently apply your technology in creative ways that really make your business stand out? So being smart about protecting that, those are some high level, again, not experiences that I've lived beyond the one patent, but I'll throw it to Ward to take it a little bit further given his background. And again, Ward works in robotics, founder himself, manufacturing, on and on. So over to you, Ward.
Yeah, no, Alex, basically you covered the key points there. And, intellectual property, getting patents can be very expensive for startups and not always necessary. So you want to be very careful with what you do. In the US, they have what's called a provisional patent, which buys you about 12 months. So in the US, it's first to file. So as soon as you file a provisional patent, you have protection as long as you continue after 12 months to actually file a real non-provisional patent after that. But you know, the worst patents are the ones that are so specific about your technology that it's very easy for people to get around that patent, to make just one change in a feature, and they can have another patent that's around what you're doing. So the best patents are the ones that are very broad in nature. But as Alex was saying, the challenge is if someone violates that patent, you have to defend that patent, and that gets very expensive. In software development, you know, I personally think it's really good if you have trade secrets, you know, if you have a head start, don't reveal the details of your code, your software, then just go with the trade secret. Okay. If you have a hardware device, you know, you may want to look at that as far as patenting that, but, you know, you need to find the right attorney and make sure that your claims are as broad as you can make those. But it gets very expensive. And then you have to think about if you go outside the country, what do you do there? You know, and then you have to file in all these other countries, and you have to maintain the patents in all those other countries. And so again, the process is very expensive. Investors sometimes like to see intellectual property depending on the products that are out there. But if there's a way to inexpensively protect your device, you absolutely want to go the patent route. If there's an inexpensive way, like a provisional patent, to get something down on paper. Again, I don't know the laws in the patent laws in Colombia, but if you can do that, I do recommend that. And then that buys you a period of time where you can determine what you need to do. But until you're out there and you're, you know, starting to demo your product and show your product, I would hold off. Don't, you know, there's too many other things that Alex is talking about that are important to the process of building your startup.
And Ward, what would you say when we talk about trade secrets? How would you define that? I didn't do a very good job of explaining what is a trade secret, and as you would describe it.
A trade secret would be, you know, to use the old example, would be like Coca-Cola and the Coca-Cola formula. Okay. You know, they have that supposedly, but not really. But, you know, the formula supposedly is very protected. Nobody knows what it is. It is a secret. And if somebody were to steal that secret, then, you know, the rabbit's out of the hat and people can start copying Coca-Cola. So anything that will be difficult for people to replicate is something that I would term to be a trade secret. In software, you know, some of the routines or logic that's utilized in software that may be very difficult for people to replicate over time is a good example of that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ward. And I see that Alina threw in in Spanish for those. We realize we may be using some terms that aren't particularly familiar. So thank you, Alina, for always being awesome. Are there questions from from everyone who's spending an hour of their life here watching this circus?
In the meantime, I can ask you a question, Alex.
Perfect.
Yes, from your experience, what strategies or practices have proven to be effective in gaining and maintaining competitive advantage in a market?
So I'll go back to where I started. It's customer discovery. It's understanding. So I'll give an example. So I was working with a founder who has a solution around pets. And her original idea was that her customers would be veterinarians. That's who she would sell to, because obviously veterinarians work with animals every day. So they would be the ideal customer to purchase her solution. As she spoke to people, including veterinarians, but also other people involved with pets, and she spoke to 200 people. All right. I mean, really jumped into the customer discovery process. She learned that veterinarians were not the right answer for several reasons. One, her solution was not going to make sense for a lot of veterinarians because they have so much technology they deal with on a daily basis. They have to run their offices. It would be one more thing, and it wasn't a pain point to the veterinarians. What she did come to learn in this customer discovery process is that it was a pain point for people who own pets. So if you're a dog owner, a cat owner, you have a giraffe, you have a pigeon, that was who really experienced the pain that her solution was solving. So had she not done customer discovery, she would have focused all her efforts on selling to veterinarians and would not have gotten very far. But instead, she is now targeting people who own pets and has a much better reception. It's also a very different sales process. In startup language, selling to a veterinarian, an investor would say you have a B2B solution. You are a business selling to another business. Selling your solution to a pet owner, you are selling to a consumer. Investors would say that's a B2C business. Different models, how you engage. Any of you who are on social media, you may have seen influencers who are telling you about this great new product they've discovered. That's very much an approach to selling to consumers. Influencers are not as effective in selling to businesses. So not just the customer discovery of who's going to buy, but then what the process is to sell to that person or that business. That's a lot of what needs to come out of customer discovery and will help guide where your business goes.
Alex, I got a question here. It's from Edwin. I would like to know if you have implemented competitive intelligence activities and specifically in which process in your company to help entrepreneurs.
Great question, Edwin, and good morning. Thanks for being here. So as part of thinking about your solution and who it's for in the customer discovery process, you also want to understand what's the current market. What are solutions that exist that are similar to what I am solving for? And my view is if you go on Google and look up your solution and see what other companies are working on a similar solution, if you see a list of companies, that's not a bad thing. To me, that's market validation. That means the market is large enough for this type of solution that other people are trying to sell into that market as well. And you may have companies that are very successful at it and new companies that are trying to disrupt them. I say this seriously. There was a time when we did not search for everything on the internet with Google. Google came along. There were other search engines that existed prior to Google that people used, and then Google came along and they were simply better. So Google starting, they looked around and used whatever browser it was at the time to search the internet to see who else was out there. And then they built a better solution. So don't be upset if you find there's other companies working on it, but then also use that to understand the specific ways that they're solving it. A lot of startups, I think this is very helpful. They'll have a page in their slide deck and it will be a matrix. And so it will list all of the companies that are solving in this area, and then it'll have different pieces of that solution. So for example, let's just stick with Google as a thing. It would list all these different companies that you can use to search for things on the internet. And then it would have different categories and pieces of that solution. Can you search in a language other than English? Can you search for solutions, on and on and on down the line? And then you would put a little check mark in all the areas that you do well. And then you would put a check mark in the areas those other companies do well. But then you'd put an X in the areas where they don't do it well to show how you're different and better than the existing solutions. So Edwin, to wrap up your question, it is as simple as doing a Google search. It is also, if I'm in supply chain, as I mentioned, I'm going to a big conference next week. I'll look at all the people who are signed up to attend that conference and see what their solutions are, and then see how those are similar to my company and what I'm working on. So those are just some simple ways to figure out who else is out there. Again, I think it's a good thing. Don't be scared. There are 8 billion people on this planet. There isn't an idea out there that someone else isn't thinking about at the same time. And that's where hustle comes in, the X factor I mentioned. Someone is going to work harder. Even if their solution isn't as good, someone's going to want it more, and that will make the difference.
Thank you, Alex. Here we have a question from Alina. Could you explain the use and value of MPVs and prototypes?
Absolutely. So MVP, minimum viable product. I don't know how that comes across in Spanish. There may be a better term, and please, for our Spanish speakers, feel free to share. The idea is, what's the smallest solution that I can build? I'm going to use technology as the example. What technology do I need to get something that I can give to Brandy or to Vivi or to anyone on this call that they can start to use? So going back to my experience with a company that did delivery, I want to, in my MVP, create the ability for Brandy to place an order to say, I would like you to bring me a sandwich. And for Vivi, the driver, to be able to see that order and then get the details on where the sandwich is, where Brandy is, where it needs to go, how much she's going to be paid. So I would want to build just enough technology for that transaction to take place. And then I would give it to Brandy and Vivi and everyone else, and they would try it, and they would tell me what they like about it. I would see what's missing, what's needed. Maybe I need the ability for Vivi to call Brandy and say, hi, I think I'm at your address, but I can't find your door. So just start with the minimum. That's where the minimum comes in, of what you need from a technology standpoint to have people start to use it. People have spent a lot of money building a complete expensive solution before they even let people try it. And then they show up and they say, hey, here's a great solution. People say, I don't like this. I don't like this. This doesn't work. This doesn't make sense. And now they spend all this money. You have to be very smart about the money you have. You can only spend a minute and $1 once. So be smart about both. So only build the bare minimum in order for you to give it to some customers to try it out. And once you get their feedback, you'll be able to add more technology to make a better and better solution. There's no technology out there that's ever done on day one. You're going to continue to iterate, right? What Amazon was in 1997 when it launched is very different than what it is now. And that's what you would expect from a technology company.
Thank you, Alex. We have another question from Sergio. How do you handle negative feedback during customer interviews? How do you differentiate between a nice to have and a must have customer need?
Great questions. So first of all, if I get, we could call it negative feedback. I would just say, if I go in believing that the world wants to have a technology where they can find where to buy a sandwich in an airport, and the feedback I get from someone, if let's say I'm talking to Alina and Alina says, well, I get to the airport and I look at the map, or I ask someone, or I pull out my phone and I Google where to buy a good sandwich at the Medellin airport. And I say, well, one, thank you, Alina, for saving me all the time of trying to build a solution that already exists. So I take it as positive. That's an extreme example. But the negative, just got a notice from Zoom that says, sounds like I've switched to a different language. Doesn't even know what language I'm speaking. That's how bad I am. Oh my goodness. All right, hang on. Let me confirm. Okay. I just put other as the language I'm speaking. So where were we? Alina's trying to get a sandwich, and I thought I've got the solution. So I want that feedback because it will help me think and be smart. If everyone I go to says, I love the idea, it's the greatest idea ever, I'm not learning anything about how to make it better. Okay. Now, if everyone says they love it and they give me money for it right away, great. But I wouldn't look at it as negative feedback. I would look at it as part of the feedback. One of the things, the best example I can give is when I'm looking to go to a restaurant I've never been to, I go online and I don't look at 5-star reviews, and I don't look at 1-star reviews. I look at 3-star reviews, which means someone took the time to say this went well and this didn't go well. The food was great. I had to wait a long time and the service wasn't very good. That's helpful for me. If I care about great food, I'm happy to go there. If I see another 3-star review and it says great service, food wasn't great, I'd rather have not great service and great food. Someone else may want great service and not great food. So what you're trying to assemble through customer discovery is these are things that make sense or people like. These are things they don't like so much, and put it together. If it's all 5 stars or all 1 stars, that's not helpful because they love it or they hate it. It doesn't tell me anything about what I should expect at the restaurant, right?
Oh, thank you, Alex. Good answer. So I have a question from Johan. Strategies provide a time advantage. How often do you recommend reviewing and adjusting them?
The short answer is every day, because you'll get more and more feedback. But I don't mean change your company every day. What I mean is once you get that MVP out there, once you've deployed, or once you've gotten some negative feedback in your customer discovery, think about what you can do to your original idea or to your existing technology to make it work better for what the customers want. One thing I see founders do is they'll get a very strong reaction from someone and say, I want this. This is what I need. And before you make that change or build that technology, you need to go through the process of understanding, are there other people who want this as well? Because sometimes you'll have a very vocal customer is very loud, who will say, I want this, but you'll learn most of your other customers, they don't care about that. So you need to understand, why is that so important to them? So that really, to me, is a critical piece of, I need to make it, you're going to need to improve your technology, right? Assuming you started with an MVP, you're going to iterate, but you want to be very deliberate in doing it and not just take, if Brandy says, I don't like that, I can't do this. Is Brandy the only one who says that? Okay, well, Vivi says it and Alina says it and Ward says it. Okay, maybe I need to think about changing this differently. But always be receptive to that feedback. I worked in retail, e-commerce for a long time. We would have big sales on Black Friday. And that was a time where we learned so much about our technology. Could it handle all that increased traffic? We learned about, did people like our promotion, how we told them about it? Did they like the products we had that we put on sale? There was so much data that came in from that one event. So we made a lot of adjustments off of that one day because it was so important as a retailer. Other companies, you may get that feedback every single day. So you as a founder, you need to be open to receiving that. And more importantly, build a process to receive it. It's, social media, it's mostly bad. It has some good moments. But if you just read the comments and the comments aren't positive, you're going to feel bad about yourself. So you as a founder need to not get too focused on the negative or feel too good about yourself with the positive. I will say this for you, Brandy. You are never as great as you believe you are on your best day, and you are never as bad as you believe you are on your worst day. And being a founder, that is so hard because you're going to go up and down. It's like being on a flight that's bouncing around. It's like being on a roller coaster. So you can't get carried away when you close that big sale and say, the world loves us, everything's going to be great forever. And you can, but it won't be helpful. And you can't be like, we're the worst and everyone hates us and we'll never have a business. So if it's January 29th and the things you said you were going to do by the end of January, you're not on track, it's on you to put it back on track. To ask yourself, why am I not on track? What went wrong? What are the things? And are the things that went wrong, are they things beyond my control? For example, we all remember COVID, right? If you opened a restaurant at the end of February in 2020 there's a chance that you were not successful because the world shut down. That's not your fault. But if your restaurant didn't succeed because you didn't really want to work hard and you didn't want to show up and the hours were long and it took a lot of work and you couldn't keep track of the money and you didn't have food people liked and on, that's on you, and that's on you to change.
Hey, thank you, Alex. We have another question from Roberto. Okay, it moves a little bit. So back to when you had Kanga. What is that thing that you will tell your Alex from Kanga that you know now when starting or launching a New Year's plan?
It is a great question, and it comes up a lot in conversations with other founders. And I mentioned that one of the things that we do as Catalyst is help create community. And so much of that is to give people who've been there the chance to talk with those who are just starting out. But everyone has something to share. Everyone has learned something along the way. The biggest thing that I learned from Kanga was that it was the pain and expense of decisions not being made. I was not the CEO. I had a voice, I had thoughts, but I watched a lot of projects that we spent a lot of time on get put up for a final decision and nothing would happen. And so it was wasted time, wasted money, and I absolutely would have been more vocal in urging a decision one way or the other. But that, in hindsight, was a very costly thing. But in the moment, you're like, oh, okay, fine, we didn't do anything with this, go to the next thing, just keep hustling. But that was the lesson I would definitely teach my younger self. Another thing, I would, going all the way back to my very first role at a startup, I wasn't a co-founder, I was their first employee. It was a market in which we had a lot of people very excited, but they needed a specific solution for each of them. And we got carried away in giving everyone the solution they wanted. And all of a sudden we wound up with way too many products that were all different and cost way too much money. And that's what killed us. The great thing is we sold a lot. The problem was we weren't focused. And so, they'll talk in startups and business about the 80-20 rule. Roughly, that means 80% of your revenue will come from 20% of your customers. Our problem was we had 20 customers and 5% of our revenue was going to each, and none of them had the same product. And that was a very valuable, in retail, we call it SKU proliferation. Think of walking into a Walmart, right? There's items everywhere, and it's very difficult. If you go to buy a bottle of mustard, or let's make it Colombia, you go to buy coffee. I mean, I've been in the stores in Medellin. There's literally dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of coffees. I have no idea what the difference is between any of them. It's overwhelming to me. That's the challenge you get in with SKU proliferations. You have way too many solutions and you're not focusing on the ones that people like the most. So you have to understand where your revenue is coming from, and most importantly, where's your profit coming from? Because the most profitable solutions are the ones you want to focus on. And that may mean saying no. And part of being the CEO, being the founder, is you have to say no. And someone, just because they want to pay you for something, doesn't mean that's the right answer.
Thank you, Alex. More questions? Please put it in the chat. So in the meantime, I have another question for you, Alex. So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs when it comes to crafting a unique and compelling value proposition for their product and services?
Customer discovery. It really goes back to that, because I've got an idea. I think this is a product the world could use. So I'm a parent. I've got a son. Like this one. There we go. That's Carter. He's 10. Mi hijo Carter es mi milagro y me le tiro. So Carter's 10. So being a parent, you look at things like when they're young and you want them to drink their milk, and you give them a cup, and the top falls off and milk gets everywhere. So you think, I can make a better cup. Well, doing some customer discovery, you find out that there are thousands and thousands of cups for little kids out there, and you probably just bought one that didn't work very well, and there's a better one to buy. Maybe there aren't a lot of cups, and now you start talking to other parents and finding out what their pain points are around it. They could say, well, my concern is the lid that works, it's very sharp and it hurts my child's mouth. That customer discovery, it goes back to understanding, is this something people would actually pay you for? That's why you need to talk to people who aren't necessarily friends and family, who are probably going to say yes just because they like you, right?
Great, thank you. We invite the audience. If you can unmute yourself and ask Alex, we have a few more minutes left, so I encourage you.
I will take this opportunity to talk about Wednesday. Wednesday morning, we'll do the same time, the same place, and Ward will be our speaker. Ward will have a similar format, talk a little bit about his background, answer questions from the audience. I have questions for Ward also, and so does Vivi. We'll ask him questions and ask him to share his experiences.
Hey, Ward, we've got a minute, do you want to just share a little bit? Because you and I have different experiences. I mean, we're both entrepreneurs and founders, but you've worked on different solutions. You want to just share with everyone kind of what you worked on? Because there may be something that you've done or are continuing to do that may resonate with them.
Sure. But, to start with, everything that Alex has said, regardless of whether you have a software solution or a hardware solution, it's all the same. Startups are startups, and customer discovery is absolutely a requirement. But my background, so I have a technical background. So I'm an engineer by training. And most of the companies that I have co-founded and worked with are hardware-based companies. So I have a very strong manufacturing background, product development background, and that sort of thing. And unfortunately, hardware, as many people will tell you, hardware is hard because developing those MVPs takes time and money. And of course, if you're trying to get investors want to see your product further along and in the marketplace. But to do that, you need money. So it's the chicken and the egg type of a situation. But don't be afraid of hardware. It's very doable. So yeah, I have been in various industries, have a lot of care background. So I do a lot of medical devices, but also other products in other industries. So that's just a little bit about me. And I've been around before Google was even a thing. So that will tell you how long I've been around. We couldn't search for anything. So we were going to trade shows and and finding people or using the phone and picking up and cold calling people and that sort of thing. So there are many, many tools these days, and many people out there trying to do startups. So just as Alex said, don't be afraid if there's competition out there. That is validation for the marketplace. You just need to find your niche and get out there, be aggressive, and make things happen. So that's just that's a little bit about me.
Awesome work. Yeah, it's going to be a great hour with Ward. So definitely get on that again because of his experience with hardware. Some of you may be thinking about that, but it's also just as Ward said, the fundamentals of launching a business are all the same regardless of your product. But with Ward's background, he'll bring a different type of expertise and knowledge around how you scale that company. He answered the question earlier about intellectual property, a lot more experience around that. So it's going to be a whole new set of content from Ward and his experience. I hope you'll be able to join us on Wednesday.
Do we have any more questions from the room? Okay, I think we can wrap up. Alex, give us one last thought. So you said customer discovery, every day is a new day. And I love customer discovery. That's what I love to teach. But the idea of every day is a new day is helpful for me. My New Year's resolution is to eat more fruits and vegetables. That's like my personal resolution. And so every day is a new day as I struggle to eat better. Can you dive just quickly? And this is the other thing that I've heard you say before, and I love about your best day and your worst day, and who you are on those days. Can you just say it again, and then maybe add a little more detail?
Sure. So first of all, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you, Brandon, Vivi, for once again rolling the dice on me. I don't talk about not learning the lesson from 2023 and making the same mistake in 2024, bringing me back. But so what I said is, you are not who you think you are on your best day when you're feeling good and everything is going your way, and you are not who you think you are on your worst day when things are bad and not going your way. And I share that because as humans, we are prone to emotion. And when something feels good, that's awesome. That's great. And when something feels bad, that's terrible. Feel those things, but recognize that most of life is between the extremes. Your high highs and your low lows, but most of life exists in here. And it is the decisions you make when things are not going your way that will likely get you back to a day when things are going your way. It's been said many times by people smarter than me, if you fall down, get back up. It's okay to stumble. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I would urge all of you who are the founders and leaders in your organizations, create a culture where mistakes are okay. I've been in organizations where mistakes are not treated as okay, and that's a terrible environment to be in because mistakes happen, and the best organizations are able to overcome any mistakes and encourage them, and most importantly, learn from them, because there's always a lesson to be learned. If someone decides that they want to run a marathon and it's January 1st and gosh darn it, they're going to run a marathon this year, and then they go out the next day and try and run a marathon, all right, love the ambition. Maybe there was a better way to train your body to get ready to run a marathon. What's the lesson there, right? So every day, this book out there talks about 1% every day. Get 1% better, whatever it is that you're doing. And that's a good way to think of it. Something doesn't go your way. What did I learn from this? How do I get better because of it? If you're trying, to Brandy's point, if she wants to change the number of fruits and vegetables she's eating to eat more, the solution is not to go to a grocery store and pull up a chair and eat all the fruits and vegetables in the grocery store that day. The idea is every day I'm going to eat some fruits and vegetables, more than I did, and then I get into a habit, and that's what you want. You want to be in the habit of building your business, being smart, learning from the mistakes, and if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Thank you so much, Alex. And thank you, Ward, for hanging with us today. Best wishes for everyone on the new year. Vivi, when will you be in Medellin?
Next week. We are arriving Sunday and getting ready for the new cohort for grade X. Medellin, that start February 6th until February 8th, and then coming back on the 9th.
Wonderful. I think my first trip to Medellin this year will be maybe in April. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, good people, for joining us early on a Monday. We hope to see you on Wednesday with Ward Broom. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
everyone.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
See you, Roberto. See you, Alina. Take care, everyone.
Bye.